Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Thomas S. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. Just a quick heads up, there will be no video from me tomorrow on Thursday, so you'll see me again on Friday. Just in case you see this one, a Model X buyer is looking to bring a class action lawsuit against Tesla because he said he didn't get the free supercharging that Tesla had promised. But that offer was for customers who order and take delivery of an S or X between April 20th and June 30th, while this individual ordered prior to April 20th. But I just have to say it, what are people doing? Somebody who can afford a Model X is now looking to bring a class action lawsuit against Tesla because they missed a free supercharging offer? Come on folks, let's do better than this. Luckily, we got some clarification from Elon on how much faster these H100 chips will be than the prior A100s. Elon said they're 3 times faster in their tests. So with Elon clarifying the real-world improvement of the H100s over the A100s, we can now come to a more accurate conclusion on how this will expedite Tesla's AI training. Holmars clarified Tesla had 14,000 A100s before, 10,000 of which were for training and 4,000 were for auto labeling. Since we now know the H100s are 3 times faster than the A100s, 10,000 H100s would be equivalent to 30,000 A100s. So Tesla went from 14,000 units of compute, we'll call it, up to 44,000 with the H100 cluster fully online. So that would be a 3.1x increase in compute capacity. Bear in mind, this is without any added capacity from Dojo continually ramping and coming online. There's still some confusion on how big of a role auto labeling will play with Tesla's V12 architecture. James Dauma has said auto labeling is useful for curating training data in end-to-end training, and while V12 is end-to-end for control in the car, it does have other outputs that require labels. So V12 won't be entirely end-to-end in training, at least not for quite a while, so auto labeling will continue. Now, given these remarks, it feels safe to assume the compute needed for auto labeling will indeed be reduced with version 12. That said, we were told by Elon and Ashok how important data curation is now for Tesla with V12, since Tesla will be programming the data or the video feeds and adjusting the neural net weights rather than the code or the heuristics to get the desired outputs and controls. In the midst of all the chatter on V12, I don't want people to think V11 is now just going to be ignored. Elon clarified V12 is still training, and this means V11 will still be improved, especially given the fact that hardware for cars may not get a V12 version until around summer 2024. And as Elon pointed out to Holmars, the density per rack with the A100 cluster was 3 to 4 per rack given the power consumption and cooling needs, but the H100 density is only around 2 per rack, implying they require even more cooling due to higher power consumption. And as James said, Elon would be meaning 2 nodes per rack, not 2 H100s per rack. And now we don't know how many H100s can occupy 1 node for sure, but I did find this press release from NVIDIA talking about connecting up to 32 nodes with a total of 256 H100s, which would be 8 H100s per node. So strictly for context, this may not be accurate, but if that were the case, each node has 8 H100s and 2 nodes per rack would mean 16 H100s per rack. That would be around 625 racks, just for this H100 cluster alone, without anything for Dojo. So this should help us to understand why Elon warned us about electricity shortages and compute constraints. Forgive me if I sound like a broken record in the months ahead, but I need to drive this point home. The way I see it, there's currently nothing more important that Tesla is working on. With Tesla's compute scaling very quickly, given Tesla's focus on relieving this compute bottleneck, paired with its supply chain leverage to even get 10,000 H100s in the first place, and Tesla ready and willing to spend billions on training hardware while simultaneously bringing Dojo online, which is custom fit for training Tesla's video data, we are in for an incredibly exciting 12 months on the race to autonomy. I have something new for you guys, a delicious snack that is to be enjoyed and cherished. Soylent is the sponsor of this video. Get your heads out of the gutter. Ashley and I love our weekend trips, and over the past few years I had to remove dairy while dealing with that parasite. We eventually came across Soylent, which has become our go-to on-the-go snack. Here's why. There are no artificial flavors or colors. It's vegan and gluten-free. There are 20 grams of protein in every serving and only 1 gram of sugar. Fun fact, soy protein creates 50% less CO2 than whey protein, so Elon would be proud. And Soylent is the only food company to have the US grown sustainable soy certification. Most importantly though, they taste awesome, and with healthy fats, they do a great job of satiation and fueling my brain. Kantar Research recently did a study over 40,000 people, and Soylent won Product of the Year, and despite the hype and the demand, they've kept their products affordable. There are reasons it's been dubbed the world's most perfect food. It's portable, no refrigeration is required, and Soylent has donated over 6 million meals to food banks and homeless shelters. Now don't go completely living off of this, because whole unprocessed foods need to be the core of our diets. But when you're in a pinch, on the go, no time to cook, or you're in the mood for a snack, this has become a favorite for Ashley and I. The first 500 people to use my link below and my code Electrified30 will get 30% off their first subscription. Enjoy. Dirty Tesla shared this video comparing the Hardware 3 to Hardware 4 cameras. Just wanted to point out, at least for the repeaters, the resolution that he has on the screen for Hardware 4 is just the files that Tesla gives you when you download those files. The actual cameras themselves, the Hardware 4, are of higher resolution than that 1448 by 938. Electric Autonomy got an exclusive look behind the scenes with the Jeff Dawn team at the Battery Lab up in Canada. You're looking at Michael Metzger, who is part of this team and may be part of a future succession plan if and when Jeff Dawn hangs it up. Metzger is one of 2 scientists hired by Dalhousie in January 2021 when the partnership with Tesla was renewed. To be clear, they said Jeff Dawn is not planning to retire or anything anytime soon, but to be prepared, sounds like Metzger and Tesla Canada's research chair Chongyin Yang could be next up. Metzger said, "We have really close interactions with scientists and engineers at Tesla, and they focus on 5 core areas for their innovation and research: cost, energy density, safety, lifetime, and sustainability." Touching on the dynamic between Tesla and Dalhousie, they said one is a fast-moving, ever-hungry business, the other a slow-moving, diligent academic lab, some yin and yang. Important to note, they said, "We wait sometimes for 2 or 3 years before we can publish a research paper, so there are things they may have found that we might not hear about for another 2 or 3 years, and they can wait like this because they have long-term funding from Tesla." Metzger said Tesla wants to work with us because we try to do things very carefully and really understand how we can improve batteries. And every student that's part of this research lab also has their own individual projects that they work on. This partnership between Tesla and Dalhousie started back in 2016, and they've made a number of breakthroughs, one of which recently they touched on silicon carbide. If you put silicon into your negative electrode, you can increase the energy density a lot, but as with all things in the battery space, there are trade-offs. The silicon battery does not cycle as well as the LFP battery the group developed. And you may remember all of those headlines about the million-mile battery that the Dalhousie team was able to come up with. Well, they've continually been cycling it, and now it's crossed 3.7 million miles. Of course, in very controlled lab environments, but still. This battery was NMC nickel manganese cobalt, and they actually said it's not wearing out, it's actually getting better. As part of their testing to simulate real-world environments, they said it turns out heat is far more detrimental to a battery than cold. And this research team has literally built novel testing hardware that no one else in the industry has. One example, an ultra high precision charger. They said part of why Tesla wants to work with us is not because of the off-the-shelf tools they can also buy. They want access to techniques like this. This is one of their latest inventions, an electrochemical mass spectrometer, which is a way to test and measure the gases as they are emitted from the batteries. And they said it's the first one in the world, but we don't know if it will work. Just to show you, they're continually pushing the envelope, and they're able to do that because of long-term funding from Tesla. And one breakthrough that's being commercialized or making it into the industry, they figured out that the green tape that the industry was using to hold components together actually drains the battery. And one last quote, Metzger said, "We need to electrify everything, and we need to do it by 2050, otherwise we're screwed." From the Driven in Australia, Tesla has opened up nearly half of its 63 supercharger sites to non-Tesla owners. The non-Tesla charging pilot program started earlier this year with 5 sites. Now that number is up to 30. It does exclude some of the heaviest used sites along major highways. And they are saying all of the sites are powered by renewable energy. Also from the Driven, Tesla is having its best year of EV sales in Australia by far, with the brand approaching 30,000 by the end of July. The Model Y is leading the charts and selling more than the Toyota RAV4. And after price cuts in Australia earlier this year, the Model Y does indeed now qualify for subsidies. And to contextualize those numbers, I found this from Troy Teslike, where he showed us for all of 2022, Tesla did less than 20,000 units sold, and we just heard they're already past 30,000 year to date in 2023, and they're estimated to end the year just shy of 60,000, so a potential 3x for Tesla in Australia this year. And since we're on the topic, how about this bad boy, this electric ship that's being built in Australia? It'll be powered by a 40 megawatt hour energy system, 4 times larger than any battery installation that's been constructed and installed for the marine transport sector. This is equivalent to 40,000 kilowatt hours divided by 70, which would be roughly one Model Y battery pack. That's about 571 Model Ys. This ship will be capable of carrying 2,100 passengers and crew, 225 cars, as well as a duty-free shop of over 2,000 square meters. It'll offer bus and ferry services. Bosch has decided to give up the development of Lidar sensors. Taking into account the technical complexity and the time to market, Bosch decided some time ago not to invest any further resources in the hardware development of Lidar sensors. The rest of the article was paywalled, but Tesla boomer mama coming through in the clutch. She continued with investment high, demand weak, and the breakthrough of fully automated driving years later than expected. German automotive suppliers have lost confidence. Lidar rotating systems are as expensive as a mid-range car. Bosch plans to shift existing development capacities to other sensor technologies like radar. Camera systems are also being developed further and are becoming increasingly powerful thanks to AI. When you see news like this, it's impossible not to wonder if Tesla has had any impact on decisions like this.
Lidar is a fool's errand, and anyone relying on Lidar is doomed. Doomed.
This is not what we need to hear when it comes to other charging companies and the struggles they're now having. Public companies like ChargePoint and Blink Charging have less than 1 year of cash left thanks to low utilization rates and high operating costs that are hamstringing profits. Trying to defend themselves, both of these companies have said their business models are more reliant on charger equipment sales than owning and operating networks, which would reduce their exposure to this cash burn, but time will tell. The CEO of Blink has said there are costs associated with replacing legacy chargers that have become a burden because of outdated technology and reliability issues. He also said the industry made mistakes early on installing chargers without paying close attention to their locations and making the wrong investments. How many times over the last 3 years on the channel have we talked about the importance of Tesla in that first mover advantage with the supercharger network having the best locations? this matters. And further applying the pressure to these third-party charging companies, we have automakers now rolling out their own charging stations following Tesla's lead. Honestly though, those might turn out to be on a very small scale, so at this point, outside of Tesla's supercharging network, the entire charging industry, at least publicly, is totally wide open, and no one is guaranteed to be around 10 years from now. Elon said, if you haven't tried Tesla Autopilot, you don't know how awesome it is. Now listen to this.
There's always been focus on this. There are plenty of critics who say that it's just simply not yet ready for prime time. And there's plenty of people who will debate the other side of it, Carl. I have yet to actually experience it. Have you? I don't know. No. Autopilot.
No, we're close.
Trend Micro, a global cybersecurity leader, is announcing one of the world's leading car makers, spoiler alert, it's Tesla, to be the key sponsor for their first ever Pwn-to-Own automotive event. They said, we're delighted to welcome Tesla as the title sponsor as we redouble our efforts to expand our influence in the field of automotive cybersecurity. Last year, this initiative, ZDI or Zero Day Initiative they call it, was responsible for the discovery and publication of 1,706 new vulnerabilities. And just so you know, this number was from all of the emerging technology at this event, not just in Tesla vehicles. It's cool to see Tesla sponsor this event because cybersecurity is a huge deal for our more connected and autonomous vehicles into the future. You guys may remember that accident back in 2018 when the driver was going over 110 miles an hour around a curve where the speed limit was 25 and ended up dying. The family then sued over a situation where there was a speed limiter that was apparently removed before this drive that would have capped the car's max speed to 85 miles an hour. Now they're trying to depose Elon about what he said about that speed limiter situation when he actually reached out to the family to offer his condolences. And now Elon is trying to defend himself, saying he should be shielded from harassing and burdensome efforts from plaintiffs' lawyers to depose him. Elon is not a party in the lawsuit or in the appeal. This image was shared on Reddit, which might be a Project Highland leak. Honestly though, it's really tough to tell from this angle. Wanted to pass it along either way, make of it what you will. We also got this video from Reddit of the Project Highland in France, where we have this individual quickly trying to cover it up. And here's that same car, but from a different angle. RJ Scaringe is getting a pay bump, and honestly good for him. He's leading the company closer toward profitability, and that's a huge milestone. It's not Elon money, but the board approved an increase in his base salary to $1 million from $650,000 before, effective last Friday. He also saw an increase in his target annual incentive bonus to 100% of his annual base salary from 50% effective January 1st. And the grant date value on the stock award is about $15 million. We got the official EPA rated range for Rivian's dual motor R1T large and max packs. With the max pack, they get an EPA range of 410 miles, and with the large pack, it's 352. Both of these are with a 21-inch wheels. The max pack size is 180 kilowatt hours, and the large pack is 135 kilowatt hours. More from Bosch, they've acquired the California chip manufacturer TSI Semiconductors. They'll invest $1.5 billion to retool the Roseville, California site to make silicon carbide chips. Production at the new company, Robert Bosch Semiconductor, will start in 2026. I'm sharing this though because of this. They said the investment will be heavily dependent on federal funding opportunities through the CHIPS Act as well as state subsidies. If things go well, the IRA and the CHIPS Act will have such a monumental impact on America's future in our electric, sustainable energy, semiconductor dependent future, it really can't be overstated. EV sales in Europe are up about 50% year over year. However, it's not all great news. This is though, they say among brands, the Model Y was Europe's best-selling BEV in the first half of this year, with sales volume surging 95%, far outpacing those of mainstream European brands. Here's the not so great. A majority of the EVs sold were hybrids, which accounted for just over a third of all EU car sales in July. By comparison, sales of fully electric cars accounted for just 13.6% of the total. Back to good news though, Tesla's market share in the European passenger car market surged 1.3 percentage points to 2.8%, the biggest increase among 116 brands tracked by JATO Dynamics. Sales of all Tesla models throughout the EU more than doubled from the first half of last year, surpassing 185,000. For the van life crowd, the Mercedes eSprinter is now available from US dealers starting at $71,000. It'll have a battery pack size of 113 kilowatt hours and only have a WLTP range of 249 miles, meaning the EPA could be closer to 200. It is in production in Charleston, South Carolina. Don't forget to check out Soylent, linked below. Take advantage of that discount if you're interested. If you do, it is a huge support to the channel, so thank you in advance. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Remember, no video from me tomorrow on Thursday. You'll see me again on Friday. Please like the video if you did, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.